Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kim Cowan, and I am the Student Rights and Responsibilities Manager at Ashford. I will be the host of this session, Hindsight Isn't 2020. Please note that microphones will be muted for this presentation, but I encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, keep your eye on the chat for a link to a helpful session feedback survey and a link to download our certificate of attendance for the conference. Now, I am pleased to introduce you to Christina Jaquez, Student Conduct Officer and Deputy Title IX Coordinator. Christina, take it away.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Jaquez. Welcome to my presentation, Hindsight Isn't 2020. I am a Student Conduct Officer for the university. I also serve as the university's Deputy Title IX Coordinator. I've been with Ashford since 2008 and with Student Affairs since 2013. So this presentation came about because of an article I read in the Chronicle of Higher Ed. It talked about resiliency in students and what they're going through right now. And this Active Minds survey was really, it had an impact on me seeing these numbers. So Active Minds had surveyed over 2,000 college students regarding the impact of COVID-19 on their mental health in April 2020. 1 in 5 students say their mental health had significantly worsened under COVID-19, and 80% of students reported a negative impact on their mental health because of COVID. And so these were the 5 most common impacts that students said they experienced: stress or anxiety, disappointment or sadness, loneliness, isolation, financial setback, and relocation. And I want to call out that this is likely a survey that was based upon our traditional college student who likely lives on campus. So I would imagine with our non-traditional student population who has a lot of responsibility and whatnot, their impacts are probably even greater, and they probably experience these multiple at a time as well, right? Also, this survey was done in April. We're quite a month out from April, and we know now about COVID fatigue. We know now that more people have been impacted from the workforce and have stopped working completely. For example, there's lots of studies about working moms who have dropped out of the workforce. So just again, to call out that likely for our student population here at Ashford, the impacts could be greater, or they experience more of these in combination with each other. But also, this was my favorite slide of the presentation. Also, we know that there's been a lot of other stuff that has happened in 2020. One, right now, we don't know who our president is, right? There has been just politics all year, financial issues with the stock market crash and just kind of general instability and unpredictability. We have racial tensions in the BLM protests. The killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, Ahmaud Arbery. Notable deaths that have happened: Kobe Bryant, Chadwick Boseman, Naya Rivera, Elijah Cummings, John Lewis, RBG. And, for Americans, we've had a lot of events canceled: Coachella, concerts, tours, sporting events, and they've been adjusted. We just came off the World Series, but even that had some COVID implications and whatnot. But internationally as well, remember earlier in the year, we had the bushfires, the killing of the commander, the Olympics actually being canceled and rescheduled, Britain leaving the European Union, the big explosion in Lebanon. And for some levity, right, some people were really impacted by Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family and moving to the United States. So, this is just a snapshot of some of the things that have happened. I had to really dig through and pull out what I thought was, impactful, but there is a lot more that has happened in 2020. And so I just want to call our attention to that not only are we going through a global pandemic, but there just has been so much other stuff this year, compounded by the pandemic, that has likely impacted you and our students. So speaking of that, how are our students impacted? So I just kind of want to read some of these words. These are actually what students have shared with staff members here in Student Affairs. So the first one, I explain the challenges I have been facing with extra work from my employer to prep for the resiliency plan for the COVID-19 earlier in the month. Then transition to working from home with my grade school children has been challenging to manage. Additionally, things have been especially challenging to manage my disability and my son's disability with having to work longer days from home, managing my schooling, and now having to homeschool since their schools are closed. The struggle is real for many parents that they are dealing with distance learning issues. I even talked to some of my mom friends in other states who have students back in schools, but now they're coming back home because of exposure to COVID and COVID cases. So that distance learning and schooling at home is really affecting a lot of parents. Secondly, we have the other student, I've recently become homeless due to COVID, but I don't know exactly what to do in the next few days. I will not have access to housing and I'll be living in my car. And we know this is a really big reality for a lot of students. And we saw that relocation was one of the stressors on that survey. I wanted to reach out and get your opinion whether or not I can still pass this course due to the pandemic and having over 50 plus COVID cases at my hospital. I'm having to work between 12 and 16-hour shifts a day with one day off, and I am put in a bind between taking care of my patients and trying to juggle schoolwork. What do you suggest? And we know now there are states that are hotspots. I think Utah has very openly said their healthcare system is being greatly impacted. This is a real student concern. And then we have, I am a student with a documented disability and COVID-19 has made for even more challenging circumstances. I have limited access to doctors, medication, and treatment, as well as have been dealing with serious neurological issues. Additionally, my health being a priority prevented me from submitting this grade appeal within 14 days. So again, another student who's not directly impacted, but COVID-19 is making their life a little bit harder, right? So these were really, I thought, poignant because I wanted us to hear from our students how they're being impacted. So how can we help? Well, I want to give credit where credit is due. This is my second favorite slide because I was an avid watcher of Governor Cuomo's briefings, and this gave me inspiration for how we can help moving forward. So I wanted to introduce the concept of pause. And in this application, it means purpose. It'll stand for purpose, accountability, understanding, support, and empathy. And we're going to talk about how we can use pause to help our students. So first, purpose. This particular message to an instructor was reported to student conduct because the instructor felt the student was attacking them. But if we sift through this hardened language, it's very clear the student is asking for help. So consider the purpose of what your student may be asking or messaging you. So the student says, "Good evening, I wanted to reach out to you in regard to all my papers getting flagged. I don't copy and paste anything. I read their background on the artist and put it in my own words. I can only change my wording for my paper to make sense in so many ways, and I feel like it's pointless to keep trying because every assignment you fail. I don't know if I should continue or just drop this class, which will put me behind on graduation, and all the red flags might discontinue my chance to even graduate." So remember that when a student is failing a course, it can also negatively impact them financially and can affect their timeline to graduate, which the student has communicated here. And often this added stress interferes with their ability to communicate with you in a more positive tone. So consider the purpose and sift through the language if you need to. Accountability. I felt it was really important to include this in here because I want us to remember, I want you all to know that students are still accountable to be good students. It is okay if you need to set deadlines. It is okay for you to set boundaries. So know that we support accountability. And so I just, while I want us to be understanding, which is the next slide, I also want us to know that it's okay to hold students accountable. So understanding. there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle for our students, right? And so it might be taking into consideration maybe their location, or have they, we've had a lot of hurricane impacts this year. Are there protests going on? I mean, just yesterday, I think in New York City, there were lots of protests over the election and counting the votes, right? Are they in a COVID hotspot? We know that there are a lot of states where the cases have increased. So just things to consider, some circumstances, just things for you to take into understanding in working with our students. Support. So this is, how can we actually help them? And I think one of the best resources we have is the Student Support Center, which is accessed through their student portal in the classroom. They can also reach out to their advisor to find out about resources. But in the Student Support Center, they have this cool, kind of graphic, and if in the support center, if the student scrolls over any of these, it gives them more help, right? So under support and resources, it guides them to the writing center, the library, Grammarly, so this is a really great resource to point them to. And also part of support might just be following up and just checking in with the student. If they've disclosed a lot to you and you've kind of told them reach out to your advisor to see what might be available to you as far as options for the class. It might also be nice just for the student to receive a message from you just to check in and see, is there any other things you can help them with? Follow-up sometimes is a great support tool. And lastly, I want to talk about empathy, and I thought this graphic from Grammarly was actually really helpful. The difference between sympathy and empathy during this unprecedented time. It is really important we have empathy in working with our students, and I want us to think about how we can communicate that with students. So here again, the Grammarly graphic, how to be sympathetic versus how to be empathetic, and really offering that help. Making them feel like we're aware of what they're going through. Are they feeling heard? Are they feeling supported? Again, those things to consider. What have they disclosed to you? What can you infer from what you know maybe about their geographic location or what they've told you in that purpose example, right? The student was really motivated by her timeline to graduation. So what motivations are you aware of? I have to remember, and I've actually said this to students that I've talked to for conduct cases, I often have to kind of check myself and remember that these students aren't me when I went to college at 18. I went to college at 18. I lived at home. I had a cool, fun, easy part-time job, could schedule my own classes when I wanted to, so I scheduled them not on Mondays and Fridays, right? So I had a lot of leeway and flexibility and a lot less responsibility than I do now with 2 kids, being married, having aging parents and whatnot. So it's really important we remember that a lot of our students aren't us when we traditionally went to college younger, with less responsibility, but they're us now juggling a lot of responsibility while also trying to be in school. And so I wanted to take this pause in the presentation to kind of talk through a scenario. This is modeled also after a referral that our office received where the instructor felt this language was really disrespectful. So, here's the scenario. You receive this message as an instructor, why are you only willing to let me take the quiz late? I explained I had a lot going on. I feel like you're not really trying to work with me here. I think you're being dishonest and I will report you to the president. Let me know ASAP if you'll accept my assignment and post late. Sign the student. So kind of applying pause or applying also your own experience. How could we respond to this particular student? And I'd love to see comments in the chat. Sometimes it literally is just calling their bluff. And I, as an instructor, have also said that we have an academic issues process, an academic resolution process. If you really feel that strongly, here's the form. I'll even give them the form. Kim says, I would want to connect to learn more about what was going on so I could find resources. And that's the whole concept of pause, right? Taking that pause, applying looking through purpose, accountability, understanding, support, and empathy. How can we help this student? Yeah, allowing late work is just so gracious right now. It is, there's a lot of circumstances outside of these students' control, and we don't lose anything by accepting an assignment a little late. Definitely, Diane, I like that. We do want to hold them accountable, but we also want to work with them with empathy. And like Kim said, flexibility can make a really positive impact. These are all good comments. Yes, Felicia, sometimes it's just getting them on the phone and speaking with them. I try and do that with students too. Like, do you want to just talk through it? Because sometimes, especially over written communication, it just, it can get misconstrued. Yes, Sean, I love that. Work really hard. You're working hard to work with them while also holding them accountable, to be fair. Yes, letting them know, let me know earlier, and maybe putting that in some of your course and class expectations in your meet the instructor, especially during this time, 2020, right? Let me know earlier as things could or are happening for you, so that there's a lot more options when we know things earlier than if we're trying to kind of fix it after the fact, right? All great stuff. So you all can handle this. I'm very happy about that. Yeah, I love this. Communication, considering emotions. Yep. Love, love, love all these comments. But pause can also apply to you. And so I really wanted to end this presentation, this second part of the presentation, to apply it towards you, and to give you some support as well. So the P, purpose, think back to when you started teaching. What was your purpose? Are you still connected to that purpose? I want all of us to just take some time to reconnect to our purpose and passion for teaching, and also teaching this particular non-traditional student population. Again, they're different than the normal young college, students on campus, right? These are adult learners juggling a lot of responsibility. And so, what made you want to teach at Ashford? I don't need answers to that, but I think sometimes just taking that pause for ourselves and remembering why we're doing the work that we do, right? Accountability, again, I just wanted to stress that we still do want to hold students accountable to their actions, but also it's important to be accountable to our students when we have university guidance on how we can better support students at this time. And so this is just an example. We, staff got this email last week, and one of the frequently asked questions was, what do I do if my student called in with a personal impact, right? And the first response is, faculty have been given guidance to exercise flexibility with due dates and provide additional extensions as needed when working with students who may have been unable to submit assignments on time because of personal issues or family illness, right? So the university has given this guidance, and it's communicated to staff who are also working with students. And so just to remember, while we want to hold students accountable, we also need to be accountable to the guidance we're receiving from the university on being flexible, right? And a lot of you said you're being really flexible, which I'm so happy to hear. And then understanding. I love this quote: teaching is the highest form of understanding. And I want to make sure that you know that the university understands you also may be dealing with impacts. You also may be living in some of these hotspots. You also may have been affected by weather and the hurricane. So we understand that. And I would just want to tell you, I appreciate what you do. And I want you to know that so many students I talk to, they're so passionate about being in school right now because it's the one good thing for them. It's the one thing they feel like they have control over. And that's because of you. That's because of you doing this teaching in the classroom. And so I really wanted to thank you for that. And then support. So here's a snapshot of the CELA website, and I think it should always be your first stop for support. There's really helpful articles in the Ashford Chronicle. You have some classroom support resources here. I want to call attention to the human resources square there. You may be eligible for some employee assistance or whatnot. And so there's information and resources there for you. And also knowing you can always reach out to other faculty, your lead or chair or whatnot as well. And then also in this, how we support our students, there's just a lot more resources about supporting our students, referrals to other offices or whatnot. And again, just having this be another starting point for you on where to find support resources. I wanted this presentation to really offer you a connection to the university virtually, right? Because we can't all be in person and see each other in the office and whatnot. I want to acknowledge that you are the university's front line, period. You are in the classroom interacting with our students who are going through these crises. So, share with us and reach out and let us know in what ways can we continue to help you do your best in this classroom. And so while I wanted to introduce the concept of pause in working with students, I also really wanted you to leave this presentation knowing it applies to you as well, and that I encourage you all to take care of yourself and keep doing the best that you can. And just really thank you so much for what you do in the classroom for our students. It does mean a lot. And so I have, this last slide, questions, discussions, anything you want me to talk about. And I appreciate the positive words. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you so much for the pause. That's what we needed like today. Maybe the P should probably be patience also, but not just purpose, but patience. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, it can stand for a lot of things, and the pause, hopefully gives us a little patience as well. But yeah, thank you all for what you do. None of us are here if you aren't here teaching our students. Yay. Well, on that note, that's the end of my presentation. Kim, I don't know if there's anything else you need to wrap up on your end.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to echo what everybody's saying. Thank you, Christina, for that great presentation. Thank you to the audience for your participation today and all your kind words. We hope you'll take a moment to complete the brief feedback survey at the link posted in the chat, and we encourage you to attend the next featured presentation, Global Virtual with a Shot of Teams, Recipe for Global Intercultural Communications Readiness, which takes place at 11 to 11:30 a.m. Remember that you can access all presentations via the TLC online event page on Eventbrite. Enjoy the rest of TLC.